Boom! What is up, Waves Capital? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about why growth stocks and small caps could be making a massive comeback over the month of August. And considering I believe this is going to be the case, you know I'll be sharing a few of my favorite plays with you guys as well. Okay, so before that, I do want to kick off the video by reading over the CNBC Pro article, going over a few thoughts from the queen of growth stocks herself, Miss Cathy Wood. Okay, the reason for this being, it couldn't be more appropriate for this video, and it also supplements the arguments that I've been making as to why I'm fundamentally bullish on growth stocks going into the new month. Okay, so after we read through this, we'll read over a few points from one of my recent macro newsletters that goes over, once again, why I am bullish on small to mid cap stocks, growth stocks, and not feeling too hot about mega caps. Okay, so of course we will be elaborating on that. After we cover our fundamental bases, we will be jumping into the charts, talking about, once again, a few of my favorite plays. And just keep in mind, you guys, going into small to mid cap earnings season, which is a big reason that I chose not only Ark Innovation, because that just made sense with the Cathy Wood article, and I definitely am bullish on Ark as well, but Sofi, Riot Blockchain, Matterport, all three of these, and many other companies that I'm really excited about are announcing earnings over the course of the month of August. Sofi is actually announcing real soon, and Matterport's next week. I think Riot's a little later in the month. Again, we'll get into specifics on dates as we take a look at the charts, but there are so many earnings on the horizon, you guys. We've already gone through a lot of the mega cap earnings, a lot of the tech titans who have announced earnings, but the small caps are on the way. They've gotten overly and irrationally beaten down over the past few months. And I do believe that a lot of the earnings reports that are coming out over the coming weeks will really just reinvigorate the small cap and growth stock market and really wake investors back up to how solid some of these companies are. Okay, so lastly, before we jump into the article, you guys, on the note of, Riot Blockchain, Matterport, crypto, and metaverse, I want to give a quick shout out to our number one cryptocurrency of 2022, and that is Render token, up almost 30% at the time of recording. So just a quick shout out to Render. And before we get to reading, you guys, let me know in the comments down below if you could only choose one stock and hold that one stock. You know what? I'll give you two stocks. If you could only hold two stocks throughout the entire month of August, buy them now, buy them on Monday, and hold them until September 1st, what would they be and why? I always like asking those questions. So I look forward to your answers down below. And if you want to know what my entire portfolio consists of, again, you guys, just these names right here that we're covering, Ark, Sofi, Riot, Matter, these are only four of many more names within the portfolio across a variety of sectors that are very exciting and revolutionary. Okay, so if you want to know what my entire portfolio consists of, that's the first link down below. $50 a month, $40 for every 3 months. Join the winning team, you guys. I trust you will not regret it, and you can always unsubscribe if you do, but once again, I don't think you will be. So more on that in a little bit, but for now, let's get to reading. Okay, so Cathy Wood says growth stocks will outperform as a bear market ends, adds to Streaming Play Friday. So, Ark invests Cathy Wood and growth stocks should soon take the leadership in the market as the downturn runs its course. Typically, growth stocks will outperform as we move toward the end of a bear market and of a recession because they are the new leadership, Wood said. Wood's disruptive technology darlings have been amongst the biggest losers this year in the face of rising rates. Her flagship active fund, Ark Innovation ETF, which once again we will be taking a look at first, is off 52% year to date, with its big holdings like Roku tumbling 70% this year. However, Ark just posted its first monthly gain since October. Close it out with a quote. It looks like, at least so far, we bottomed on an intraday basis based on our flagship strategy on May 12th. We actually bottomed before the NASDAQ and the S&P did, Wood said. That was an early signal that we might be turning the corner here. So, been talking a lot about it, you guys. And we will talk about this more in the charts on top of just some short-term technical price action. But zoom out and take a look at how far these things have come and why mean reversion which is obviously reverting to the mean, finding that middle ground between the two crazy polarized opposite ends of the spectrum is necessary. And because we've seen so many months of bloodshed at this point, the mean reversion does favor the upside. Okay, so let's dig into the technicals a little bit more, keep this quick for you guys, and once again, read a few points from one of my recent macro newsletters before diving into the charts and talking about some potential price action. Okay, so far, isn't this a pretty picture? Found this, I was like, oh, for sure throwing that in the newsletter. But so far, roughly 70% of S&P 500 companies who have reported have beaten analyst expectations. It makes sense to believe that this trend will persist, but based on the varied business models of all these companies, it's difficult to predict how hard inflation and consumer demand will impact the bottom lines of these individual companies. Although the reports of mega caps over the remainder of the week will inevitably make waves across the entirety of the market, my focus remains on the reports of small caps and growth stocks that kicks off in early August. We're here, guys. We made it. Bullish on small caps, bearish on mega caps. Marko Kolanovic. So I'm going to reference another CNBC Pro article that I thought was really good. Marko Kolanovic, an analyst we referred to a few times in the past, is feeling the same way. This morning, he reiterated his thesis that recessionary headwinds are already priced into the markets. No need to read the title, but I'm personally pretty skeptical about the well-being of mega caps once again, but our opinion on growth stocks fall perfectly in line. I'll attach what I believe are his most relevant statements below. So this is just a screenshot from that article, a few highlights I made. As investors get more comfortable with the path of a recession, growth stocks will find their footing, Kolanovic said. We've been arguing to tactically favor growth over value, which can also be expressed through a better showing of the tech sector. Traditional defensives show the worst relative valuations versus historical, with staples relative PE or price to earnings currently trading at an all-time record, even taking into account the most severe recessions over the past 20 to 30 years. So what he's saying here is pretty much the fact that growth stocks, from a historical valuation perspective, are outright cheap. And again, considering we have fallen so damn hard, you guys, over the past few months, again, since those November highs, we'll just zoom out to kick it off before we get into the short-term price action. So again, you guys, Ark at this point still down over 70% from its all-time high. And I can't reiterate this enough. This doesn't make sense. $1.60, Ark Innovation ETF at 160 is equally as foolish as Ark at $34, which is pretty much its pandemic low. Okay? So this doesn't make sense. Pandemic black swan lows don't make sense. But this doesn't make sense either, which is why, once again, you need to find that middle ground and revert to the mean. Okay? You never want to be on either end of the spectrum. You want to be comfortably in the middle, and that doesn't only translate to the markets, but that correlates to so many other aspects of life, right? So, that's it, you guys. Again, before we get into the specifics of upside price targets, once again, if you want the daily newsletters, and I want to show you guys this, because this is one of the 3 newsletters I write every day. This is the price targets newsletter. This is the second of the day, okay? So first is the trade alert newsletter. Then comes the price targets newsletter, where we go over, in this case, last month of August, close it out with a bang. 7 charts: Ark, Roblox, Matterport, DraftKings, FaZe Clan, Bitcoin, and Riot. All these charts down below. This is the second newsletter of 3 that I send out every day. And then lastly is the macro newsletter, which is this one that we just read through. Okay, so you get that on top of the entire breakdown of literally every call option in my portfolio, every common share position, every cryptocurrency position, with daily updates and rationale as to why I'm trading the way I'm trading. Okay, so again, I work hard on this product. I feel this is worth way more than $15 personally, but it is $15 a month or $40 for every 3 months. Once again, if you join, welcome to the Waves Capital. Welcome to the Waves fam. Welcome to the winning team. And I'll see you guys on the inside. But if not, no worries at all. You're a loss. I appreciate you watching this video right now, though. So let's take a look at Ark on the shorter term time horizon. Okay, so first of all, Ark. A big reason I wanted to cover this right now is because Ark, Cathy Wood, queen of growth stocks, Ark is kind of the best summary for growth stocks on a single chart. Okay, the same way the S&P 500 or the SPY is a great look into the general well-being or the general technicals of the U.S. equity market as a whole. Ark is kind of a look into the U.S. growth market as a whole. Okay, So Ark did recently break a pretty significant line of short-term resistance, okay? Of medium-term resistance, I should say. So November 2021, this high over here, creating that medium to longer-term line of resistance. We did break above that, came back down, retested previous resistances, new support to close out the month of June. And since then, we have seen a macro reversal to the upside. And once again, this is important because this is what many, many other charts look like as well. Long-term, kind of just in macro reversals to the upside following a break of the long-term downtrend. And mean reversion has commenced. So since we did break out, we have been in a very, very organic ascending channel. Okay, so between these two lines right here, right? Nice ascending channel. Very, very clean tests of resistance and support. So because I'm bullish going into this week, and Ark had a very, very rough Friday. Again, Roku, one of their large holdings, Teladoc, one of their large holdings. Both of those just tanked. So Cathy, I mean, has been proven right, obviously, in the past, if you just look at Ark's chart going back. But right now, and I've been telling a few subscribers, or newsletter subscribers who have been asking me questions this as well, we're in a very different market environment than we were in November or like a year ago, right, you guys? Last year was story stocks. Last year there was capital flying all over the place. It was reckless capital. And you wanted to just find a good story stock, right? A stock with a good story that sold a message. And that was the reality of the markets. That's why a lot of plays, ALYI, I mean, the short squeeze stocks that we talked about a year ago, those are terrible positions right now. And that's very important to understand. Okay? So you got to look for companies with actual revenue, with an actual with that are growing significantly. That's why they're called growth stocks. They grow year over year or quarter over quarter at a significant pace. And again, that is why I am choosing these. Cathy with Ark has some great picks in there, has some not so great picks in there. Again, Roku, Teladoc, but Ark, because they have such a diversified holdings, they do just represent the growth markets well. So when Ark does well, it's pretty likely, although this is a stock picker's market, as we've been saying, you guys, it does represent the growth markets well enough. Okay, so anyway, Ark, when it comes to short-term upside price targets, I do think Ark will come up to test the top line of resistance here on this ascending channel. From current levels, that would take us up about 15% or $52, which is also kind of a previous low set over here, which I do think we could come up to retest. So right now, $52 is my Ark price target. This is a pretty conservative price target in the case that things do go well, but that could come by over the first week or so of August. And this isn't crazy price action, but of course, you guys, if you have call options, if you have the right call options in place, if you're positioned correctly, these can be obviously far more lucrative than just a 15% move to the upside. Okay, so it's all about how you play it. It's all about how you structure your portfolio. Okay, so that's Ark. Let's move on to the actual plays that I'm really bullish on as far as earnings are concerned. Sofi, and I have these green lines for all of you guys. Okay. So these green lines with the dollar sign at the bottom are the date in which these companies announce earnings. We got Sofi, we got Riot is a little later down the road, and we have Matterport, which is, I mean, pretty soon. So August 10th is August 10th or 11th. It is August 10th is Matterport. Riot, August 27th. Sofi, August 2nd. And I'm really, really excited to see what happens because that's this Tuesday. So we'll kick it off with Sofi and move on to Riot and Matterport. Sofi is great. And as I just said in that little rant, you guys, you want companies that are growing significantly and have actual business models below them. Sofi, gonna move my fat head for you guys quick. Sofi is currently trading at a sub $6 billion valuation, at a $5.8 billion valuation, right? Earnings August 2nd right there. And when you look at Sofi's quarterly revenue growth, it's pretty damn impressive. So a year ago, we were at 250 mil. Next 290 mil, next 303 mil, next 350 mil in the previous quarter in Q1 of 2022. This growth is insane. So let's go annual. What was their 2021 annual revenue? In 2021, their annual revenue was $1 billion, right? $1 billion in revenue year over year. Granted, they are not yet profitable, is extremely impressive, and the rate at which they're growing is even more impressive. Okay, so I'm not gonna get super deep into Sofi. I do want to move on to the other ones and kind of spare you guys the time. We've gone deeper in the newsletter and stuff, and I will likely go deeper on Sofi as we approach earnings tomorrow and in tomorrow morning's newsletter. But anyway, I think Sofi is going to post some great numbers. The bank stocks, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, they all I mean, JP Morgan didn't do too good, but it ended up popping, and all the other bank stocks, the other major bank stocks, popped big on earnings a couple of weeks ago when they kicked off the season. And considering SoFi is pretty much the bank of the future, banking 2.0, banking for the youth, I guess, it only makes sense. Granted, they have very, very similar business models, and people are running out of money. People don't want to stop spending. People still want to spend like they have been while they're running out of money. And that's when you need lines of credit. And SoFi delivers lines of credit, and it just makes sense to me, given this climate and given the fact that SoFi's corrected so much, that they're probably going to do pretty damn well in their earnings. And I do also know that there's a decent amount of short interest in SoFi as well. So it is likely that there's going to be a significant move in either direction following earnings. Of course, this goes for all of this. I could be wrong. SoFi could plunge on earnings, but in my opinion, I think SoFi is going to crush it, and I think SoFi is worth a lot more than $5.8 billion from a fair value perspective. Okay, because they are once again trading at this point in time below 6x forward, like 6x forward revenue, which is crazy. Okay, that's such a low multiple. All right. So anyway, as far as price targets are concerned, SoFi is currently again, was in a nice ascending channel, did break below that last week. Short term, I do think it's almost guaranteed that SoFi at least comes back up to test short-term support, previous short-term support as new resistance, which would be right here. But ultimately, because earnings is on August 2nd, and I think they will be propelled further, and SoFi is, even short-term, still in a series of higher highs and higher lows, still establishing this higher low, this yellow line right here, around that previous higher high. And macro, I mean, it looks like we bottomed out, right, you guys? This sideways price action, I've been saying this in recent videos as well. Sideways price action for a prolonged period of time is typically a good sign of a macro bottom and capitulation. Okay, so I do think upside is likely. This still looks great in the short term to me, and once again, I do think earnings will be a massive catalyst to the upside. My first initial price target for SoFi is going to be about $8.40, or 35% up from where we currently are at $6.30. Actually, no, we're currently at, okay. So that's about, just under 35%, but I do think that we could definitely fill this range and start trading back in this range, which would be the legitimate mean reversion, okay? So this range right here, SoFi did, SoFi IPO'd because they were via SPAC at $10, $11. So I think that makes sense. I think trading between maybe $9 and $10 does make perfect sense, and that's where we find our range and start trading sideways probably until the next earning call. So say we make it to 960, just where the cursor fell, that is a 50% rise from here. And once again, if you have options in place, really excited about some of these SoFi, like slightly longer term, medium term call options that I have on SoFi right now. So yeah, if that moves like that, we're gonna be eating a lot of steak and sushi, you guys, and that goes for all of these plays, right? Let's move on to Riot, and then we'll close it out with good old Matterport. So Riot Blockchain, looking good. Posted that recent Riot video. Riot buy $9 this week. I think that's absolutely going to happen. As I also said in that video, Riot does announce their earnings on August 22nd, but historically, they do end up announcing usually before, like a week or so before they are scheduled to report or analysts expect their report. I don't know exactly why they do that, but that's typically how they do it. And I do think given the price action of Bitcoin, given the fact that I know they have sold a decent amount of their Bitcoin stack, and obviously from a profitability perspective, that's good. They do have liquid. And although Bitcoin isn't looking super hot going into the trading week, it's Sunday. It's Sunday just past noon Hawaii time at the time of recording. I still think Riot's still looking great on the charts. Riot still has so much mean reversion to accomplish. And I do think that short-term Riot will still fill this gap right here set in early May between $9 and $9.50, which would be about 25% up from current levels. But honestly, I do think that Riot can definitely come back here to test these previous, these little ceilings right here. This high it set in 2020 during that first rally around $11. And that is optimistic, but that's a 50% move up too. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that by early September. Of course, in the case that Riot does impress on earnings and does not disappoint, and Bitcoin holds up and the markets overall hold up, which, again, following that Fed meeting and their dovish tone, which means they're not very offensive tone, they're kind of taking their foot off the gas. this is bullish. 70% of S&P companies, as we said in this newsletter, have impressed, have beaten analyst expectations. So just going on that trend alone, things are definitely picking up, and investor sentiment is becoming significantly more optimistic. Okay, so where was I? Let's close this one out. I'm so pumped on a render, honestly, right now. I love seeing those notifications. Let's close it out with Matterport on the note of metaverse. So Matterport is a great example of a stock that has just been so sleepy, and I did just say this. It might have been in this newsletter. Yeah, this newsletter, I guess. But anyway, Matterport is a sleeping giant, in my opinion. Matterport's similar to SoFi, less scaled, and I do like, from a fair value perspective, Matterport is more fairly valued than SoFi. But given the growth rate of Matterport, and given a lot of the CEO's comments in their Q1 2022 report, I'm feeling very good about Matterport. They're still scaling. Like, although real estate is cooling down a little bit, Matterport is such a young technology with so much growth potential ahead of it, and such a massive market opportunity, such a massive TAM, total addressable market, as far as their products are concerned. I mean, Matterport is an absolute steal at like $4. And again, I have some longer term call options on these that I think are an absolute steal right now, and I'm excited to see how those perform. But Matterport, as far as short term goes, I guess did break below this medium-term resistance right here. This is some true medium-term resistance. So nice break above that purple line of resistance right there. Since then, again, very, very similar story, different chart. Has been in a nice organic uptrend following that macro reversal to the upside, given the fact that it did break longer-term resistance. So short-term uptrend, very, very organic ascending channel. It makes perfect sense to me that I didn't even move my face back. I just realized that. Makes perfect sense to me that we make our way up to test the top line of resistance on this ascending channel in the short term. But then earnings comes. Earnings on August 10th, right there is when earnings is. And I do think that will take the stock up to at least this previous low over here of $4.87, which would be just under 15% up from current levels. But that is super light. I would be surprised if we make it there by earnings, in anticipation of earnings. And in the case that they do impress on earnings and guidance, I think that Matterport could, let's get a range going here, because I don't know why I just made one line right there. I do think that that's possible right there, but I would say that's the top end of the range. This is the lower end of the range. I do think that Matterport could come up again, like 50 to 60% is the case for a lot of these stocks as we head into the fall months. Again, I'm not guaranteeing a 50% move up over the course of the next week, the next 2 weeks. But I do think that come September, definitely moving into the fall when the markets typically pick back up anyway, I do think that we could see a lot of these names 50% above where they are now. Okay, so that's the video, you guys. Once again, let me know in the comments down below if you could only hold 2 stocks throughout the month of August. What would it be, and why? And once again, I look forward to talking to you downstairs. If you want to join the winning team, one more time, that's the first link down below. And yeah, if so, I'll see you tomorrow morning. If not, I'll see you guys in a couple days in the next video. Until next time, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace, team.